recent Netflix favorites that I have watched. Whispered, of course. I wrote everything down that I want to recommend on this envelope. I will not forget. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. These are in no particular order, by the way. The first recommendation I have for you, and one that I just finished the other day, is American Manhunt, Osama bin Laden. So this documentary is about the manhunt that took place for Osama bin Laden. You're getting a lot of accounts from intelligence officers that were a part of the CIA at the time, going back to where they were and what their experience was with 9/11 itself, finding information and gathering information about Osama bin Laden, his whereabouts, his history, who's affiliated with him. There were so many nitty-gritty details that not a lot of people knew about at the time, and it also really walks you through that. During the last episode, it gives a lot of good detail as to how the operation, where they finally find out where he's at. They show you the information, or they show you the process that it took to get the Navy SEALs ready. It was so interesting. Obviously I know that a lot goes into it, but it really just, it breaks everything down for you. And I have to say, not only obviously about the storyline itself, but the way that the documentary itself is produced, the music, the interviews, the angles, everything about this American Manhunt series. I mentioned in my last video that one of my all-time favorite documentaries is a part of this series, and it's involving the manhunt for the Boston Marathon bombers. So I highly recommend checking this documentary out, aside from the fact that it's really important to know about these things and the history of all this stuff. It's really good to watch. It's very entertaining, and you learn a lot about the process, the manhunt for Osama bin Laden. So yes, I highly recommend that documentary if you have not watched it. Okay, number 2, A Deadly American Marriage. It was a very tragic story. Essentially what happens, there is an Irish citizen man who marries the au pair, the nanny of his 2 children at the time. His wife that he had the children with had passed away, so that was why he needed to hire a woman, or a nanny, whoever, to come and help with his kids while he was working. He ended up falling for her. They ended up getting married. She loved the kids. The kids were like babies when she came into the family, so they ended up viewing her as their mother. The wife, the American citizen, really missed being back at home, so the Irish citizen husband agreed and they moved to America. The whole story is about how the husband is murdered, but it's like you see throughout the documentary, it's a few episodes trying to really figure out. The wife is claiming that it's self-defense and that she had to do what she had to do, and her father was there and was an accomplice in all of this. They're holding strong, no, this was absolutely necessary, it was self-defense. But then the family, the Irish family, they came over to America even to help out with this. They insisted and gave a ton of evidence to suggest otherwise. So the documentary is really just walking through everything, trying to figure out and showing both sides, and really leaving it up to the viewer with all of this different evidence to decide what your thoughts are. The crazy part about this documentary is that it includes the 2 children as they've gotten older and how they were involved in the case. But then, I don't want to give too much. You have to watch that documentary. It was really good, tragic, but a very good documentary nonetheless. Number 3 is Untold. It's another series on Netflix. It's called Untold. It shares a lot of sports stories that are in the sports athletics world. So this specific one is called Untold Shooting Guards, and it's about 2 NBA basketball players named Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Grittenton. And basically there was a whole thing that happened in the early 2000s. I didn't know anything about this until I watched this, and it was so, again, this is another story that's just, after I watched it, I went through so many aside from the content of the documentary, just the way that it was shot, the production of the documentary, and the whole Untold series, I love. I really like watching those documentaries. Easy to follow, and yeah, it's another really good documentary that you guys should check out. Here's a little bit of a change of pace, kind of. Black Mirror, the Black Mirror new season. I think it's season 7. Whoa, I was not expecting that series or that season, because I've seen a few Black Mirror episodes here and there, but I wasn't like an avid watcher. So when I saw that pop up, it was at a time when I kind of was running out of things to watch, and I was like, all right, well, let's check it out. I think the first episode of that series, so like my recommendation is that entire last brand new season. It was unbelievable, but specifically there is an episode that includes Rashida Jones, I think, and she is playing it with the guy that plays the cop in what's that, Bridesmaids, you know, the guy with, I think it's like an Irish accent. So it's Rashida Jones and him, they're married, and like she's married to this guy. She has an accident, and there's like this special service that is offered that's like an implant that will keep her alive. But you see throughout the show, throughout that episode, the insane hoops that they have to jump through, being working class people and not being able to afford certain things and luxuries. And it was insane. I think that that's technically considered sci-fi, science fiction, but it's also kind of I'm at a loss for words as to how I would explain that show, but it's intense, and it's like you're looking to the future. Everything about that show is very much like your futuristic sci-fi type stuff. So yeah, if you have not seen that new series or that new season of Black Mirror, highly recommend. This last one is kind of an honorable mention because I've not finished it yet, but so far this is pretty intense. It's a true crime documentary, and it is called Fred and Rose West, a British horror story. Yeah, okay, I was just looking down to make sure. And so far it's just crazy. Like, you know, those true crime documentaries that you watch and you're just absolutely in disbelief as to how some humans can behave and what people will do, especially to their loved ones, their closest loved ones. It's basically, there's like this guy named Fred West. I've got through the first episode, and I think it's like a 3-part series, but essentially they end up uncovering bodies under this guy's patio. Like, somewhat spoiler, but not really, because it's like we're getting into the nitty-gritties. And I think a lot of the times with these true crime documentaries, what is the most interesting is not necessarily like the crime itself, which, yeah, that's part of what you're looking at and analyzing, but it's also like the psychology behind their thought process and like how they are as like a sociopath, all that stuff. And like, you know, there's psychologists and stuff that are a part of the documentary as well that will give their opinion, or if they had to be involved in the case in some level. So I have yet to finish that, but so far it's a pretty good watch in terms of like true crime in the true crime arena. Let me go ahead and put some hand cream on while I close out this video. I'm just taking this Kiehl's Midnight Recovery Concentrate. It was a serum that was supposed to be for, well, not really a serum, it's an oil that's supposed to be for my face, but I had mentioned in a TikTok that I did that I realized this was actually kind of breaking me out lightweight, which doesn't always happen, but it's not shocking because it does have a lot of fragrance in it. It's like essential oils, but in the spirit of not wanting to waste, I am using it as a part of my hand moisturizing routine because it really does, like, do you see how shiny my hands are now? Really helps with that. I've been kind of on a roll with YouTube. I actually uploaded 2 videos in a week this last week, and I love long form content because I love being able to like actually really express my thoughts and like really speak about these things like the way that I want to, whereas like a TikTok I have to like really make sure I this is one of my talents, is watching Netflix and finding good documentaries and things to watch. So I really hope that you trust my recommendations because I think they're good. But yeah, so definitely check some of these out if you have not and you're like in a rut and you need to watch something. Check them out and then let me know your thoughts. Come back to the video and comment. I always want to chat about this stuff. Anyway, thank you so